In this video, we are going to show you the top 5 best OLED TVs 2024 on the market. I am trying to list those based on price, quality, and more. Subscribe now, hit that bell, and never miss a product's review. Number 5. Samsung Q55 Q60 TFXA. Approaching greatness with the latest budget QLED lineup, Samsung giveth and Samsung taketh away, presenting panels that are good but not necessarily great. That being said, despite falling short, the Samsung Q55 Q60 TFXA starts approaching greatness, which is a pretty admirable feat given its economy disposition. First things first, its footprint is narrow, and the bezels are slim. The dark plastic case that this TV's using feels sturdy, sporting a ribbon-like texture along the back. Of course, it is not quite as elegant as the metal cases that high-end TVs usually adopt, but the case does not feel or look cheap, so kudos to the people behind the screen anyway. The boomerang-shaped feet are also sturdy, easily clipping into the bottom and providing a stable base. Having said that, because the feet are quite thin, the legs do not necessarily feel as reliable, so we would recommend choosing a steady surface. The port lineup is fairly standard, including a composite connection for legacy devices, an optical output for soundbars or receivers, 3 HDMI ports, 2 USB ports, an antenna input, an Ethernet port, and a Bluetooth module. Because they're hidden behind, you won't be able to access these ports without pulling the TV away from the wall, meaning that people who swap devices on a frequent basis should stick with the above-mentioned feet. Realistic flesh tones more often than not, the TV delivers good colors and sharp details. There's some blurring during fast action scenes, but nothing to be alarmed about. With movies like Blade Runner 2049, the dystopian neon lights come out bright and rich, the dolphin pods look distinct and detailed, and the overall colors remain accurate. But, even when you move 30 degrees to the side, reds start looking a little orange, while the movie's deep blues start transforming into light blues. The action usually looks sharp but, again, when the scenes ramp up, the visuals start losing crispness. Number 4. TCL 55 R635. A huge improvement, the TCL 55 R635 shines as a beacon of hope for budget-clad TV buyers. While its motion handling is not great and the peak brightness is pedestrian at best, the TV offers excellent value nonetheless. Where its dress sense is concerned, the TV is not necessarily slim, but the bezels are practically non-existent anyway. You can place the legs close, making the TV fit small tables or stands, or separate them, putting the legs at the outside corners to ensure stability. Furthermore, you can weave cables through these legs, creating a less chaotic space free from wires. Spin the TV around and you will find the usual port arrangement, including one USB port, one Ethernet port, RJ45, for HDMI inputs, one composite input, one optical output, one headphones jack, and one antenna input. Of course, these are not the HDMI inputs that enable transferring 4K/120Hz and 8K signals, but the ports can work with 4K/60Hz or 1440p/120Hz. Following in its predecessor's footsteps, this screen employs Roku TV, which is an egalitarian smart TV platform with an impartial and capable search engine. Because Roku TV has no ties to the biggest streaming services, unlike Apple TV or Amazon TV, the platform will not be shoving ancillary streaming apps down your throat, supporting everything from Netflix, Hulu, Sling TV, and Amazon, to small-time channels like Pluto.tv, Tubi, Crackle, and others. Calibrating colors, contrast, and clarity on the performance front, the TV offers improved black levels, contrast, and practically non-existent haloing. The mini LED backlighting system makes the clearest distinction between blacks and whites, while the AIPQ engine works overtime transforming HD content into 4K. Using 3 algorithms that calibrate colors, contrast, and clarity, the engine eliminates noise and grain, making upscaled media look almost identical to legit 4K content. Number 3. Samsung Q55 Q80 TFXA. Reasonable indeed despite, at this time, occupying the reasonable price seat, the Samsung Q55 Q80 TFXA is not the bargain that we usually put there. No, this is an expensive TV, but the price is, indeed, reasonable, considering everything that this screen is offering. To initiate a conversation, the SDR picture modes that always accompany OLED TVs include standard, dynamic, natural, and movie, with the last mode somewhat crushing the blacks but also making the image more contrasty. You can play with these modes or go with the company's intelligent mode. Delivering adaptive brightness as well as adaptive sound, this mode will let you manage the screen settings without delving into the menus. As always, the Q80 line's image interpolation tech is no joke, but we would recommend treading carefully since the tech can also make the soap opera effect quite noticeable. Then, there's the ultra viewing angle tech, trickling down from Samsung flagship OLED TVs. This technology is pretty great at maintaining colors and contrast even when they're viewed from a sharp angle. Of course, aside from movies, the TV also features a game mode, with multiple settings that will enable you to reduce input lag, highlight dark scenes, etc. From the 4K reproduction standpoint, this TV is even more impressive. The screen linearity is excellent and the black level performance is consistent. Real-world HDR content looks bright and snappy. The color fidelity is awesome, featuring convincing primaries as well as natural skin tones. There's minimal blooming and, generally speaking, the colors come out rich and expressive. 60-watt speakers. Samsung TVs are no strangers to powerful speakers, but the ones that this model comes armed with have surprised us nonetheless. Drawing and outputting 60 watts, between 4 speakers and 2 subwoofers, these downward-facing speakers produce punchy mids and brilliant highs. There's a warm tilt but the sound is usually clean and expansive, with the robust output easily filling sizable rooms. Number 2. LG OLED 55 XPUA. Approaching perfection. The people behind the LG OLED 55 XPUA are suggesting that this TV will let you see how perfect OLED models can be. Are they exaggerating? Well, to some extent, sure, but not as much as you would expect. No, even by OLED TV standards, this one's colors are off the charts, unveiling perfect blacks and the brightest whites. Talking about OLED models' colors gets pretty repetitive with time though, so this is not the route we'll go. Instead, let's choose the audio route first. Normally, budget OLEDs are seldom offering impressive audio, which is understandable considering that cutting important corners is unavoidable when you're producing affordable OLED panels. Still, without the right sound, even the most stunning visuals cannot immerse you in the on-screen action alone. Bringing Dolby Vision IQ, this TV somewhat solves the audio issue, automatically adjusting the picture settings depending on the ambient lighting conditions and content genres. But more important than this feature is the Dolby Atmos One, surrounding you with multi-dimensional audio that flows all around you, or so it seems. Of course, these features are irrelevant without the 40-watt sound setup, packing 2 speakers and 2 subwoofers that produce rich and detailed tones, making the audio deep, spacious, and impactful. Treating games and movies almost equally, OLED TVs are usually solid gaming screens to begin with. Still, this TV takes its gaming disposition even more seriously. First, the model's G-Sync compatible, meaning that people with NVIDIA graphics card can enjoy gameplay without pixel distortion, motion jitter, and noticeable image artifacts, with the tech minimizing dropped frames and chopped visuals. Second, you have the TV's 1 millisecond response time, enabling competitive gaming without any handicaps. Besides these two, the product's contributing HDR gaming, proving that high dynamic range imaging does not pertain movies alone, making the on-screen action much more immersive and visually expressive. Number 1. Sony Bravia XBR65A8H. Industrial design coming at almost $2,000, the Sony Bravia XBR65A8H starts approaching that premium, high-end segment where TVs make virtually no compromises since the price allows them to do so. Using its appearance as a springboard, the model sports a unique industrial design that's somehow both understated and visually expressive. The bezels are thin and pretty much non-existent, with the usual skinny bits that OLED TVs come with finished beautifully. They're also sturdy and robust, not unlike the remaining heavy-duty bodywork that houses connections, processors, and panel drivers. What's interesting here is that, choosing the opposite direction, this deep section's unapologetically muscular and minimalistic, adding to the model's design appeal rather than looking like a necessary evil. From the front, the TV has an attractive monolithic look with very little trim, so you won't feel distracted from the on-screen action. Even the remote is good-looking, with a sleek metal-like finish but also a spacious layout and responsive buttons, nothing like the cramped layouts with flush buttons that Sony TV's handset generations were offering a decade or two ago. Bitmapping and pixel contrast booster. As attractive as this TV is, what sells the product is its performance. First, its HD/SDR reproduction is awesome. When upscaling sub-4K content, most TVs make the picture strained and noisy. This model, on the other hand, adds a high level of detail and texture seemingly effortlessly, even when working with grainy, low-quality content. The color judgment that the TV applies to each upscaled pixel is excellent as well, not making them as coarse as they usually look with less impressive upscaling engines. Moving on, the model is even better when it comes to 4K and HDR content. The colors look three-dimensional, natural, and nuanced. Skin tones, shadows, and dark colors are delivered refined and detailed. In the meantime, the company's bitmapping tech smooths away the striping artifacts that HDR can cause sometimes.